And there was one thing which was extremely dear to me back in our Samiti in Bahrain, where my parents were. We had an extremely strict Samiti, No children were allowed to attend bhajans, the weekly bhajans. If you're a toddler, you have to sit inside. Because, while the bhajan is going on, you'll suddenly have alaps coming. Quah, somebody will start shouting, etc. So extreme discipline. So all the kids were asked to, they were locked inside and said, you do whatever you want, don't disturb this. Okay? So very strict. Except one child was allowed to attend bhajans, and that was me. Because I loved bhajans. So I would keep looking at what the tablist is doing, what the harmonium player is doing, how are the singers singing. And so people would come and, pat, oh, very disciplined boy, very good, very good. So I, even at that age, I had like stars on my, on my shoulders over here, most disciplined kid, right? So with that stars on my shoulders, I remember my first ever darshan, probably 84, 85. And so as always, we go to Prashanti. And I'm sure for those of you who remember those days, more than we having Swami's darshan, a darshan was termed as good or bad if Swami had our darshan. Correct? Means oftentimes I'm sure we used to have these conversations. Hey, how was darshan? How was darshan means what? Just imagine, God is coming on earth, we are seeing him, and typically, hey, how was darshan? Darshan was okay, right? Okay means from far, means basically I saw Swami, but Swami didn't see me. Correct, no? A darshan would be really good if Swami got the opportunity of me touching his feet. I'm carefully using my words, right? If Swami spoke to me and he heard my voice, then it was a good darshan. Correct? So, all of us wanted that good darshan. But as long as we were there on that trip, every single day, our token number used to be 19, 21, 13, right? All of us wanted that coveted token number 1. More than Swami coming out for darshan, token number 1. Who cares if God comes out for darshan or not? Token number 1 is for my first prayer in the morning, right? If you offer all of you, those of you who remember those days. So all of us know, and I still, it was such an adventure in those days to go and look at those lines, okay, and wonder which is that lucky fellow, because the guy who sits in the first row, he's the one who puts his hand. So we'll look at, and all the people sitting in the first row, no, they will be like this, they will be at their peak devotion because everybody wants to pick up the token number 1. So we will look at there, we will scan them, and we will see who is that candidate who's most likely to pick up token number 1, and we will sit in his line. Anyway, so the penultimate day, we are sitting over there, and guess what, right? Lo and behold, the sir sitting in our line picks up, and typically that excitement, he'll be like shaking, and all, so everybody in that line is like, yes, we have done it. So finally we get the token number 1. And so we run in, and by now, we have already established our vantage points, right? We know that place where Swami comes every day. And we know those places where Swami may or may not come, right? I'm sure as you run inside, you're like spoiled for choice. When you run inside, where do I go? Where do I sit? Okay, so you go to the place where every day Swami has come over there. So now just imagine, this is the moment of my life. Like this is the moment of reckoning for me. Right? All of my life, means however short or long it was by then, right? It is all about that moment because I'm going to see my superstar, right? The person, my hero, is finally going to come and stand in front of me, right? So I'm going to have that moment with him. And so I'm waiting for that. I'm sitting, I'm closing my eyes, and I'm wondering, when is that moment going to come? And after some time, I hear one, Sai Ram. So I open, and it is one of our brothers wearing the blue scarf, right? The Sevadal brothers, right? I often call them angels of our spiritual progress. They are responsible for our spiritual progress. They have been kept there so that we spiritually progress, right? So they test you in every single way. What Swami cannot also put test for you, no? That will be put by those. I'm sure that from the smile that you all have, all of you have experienced there. Correct? So, one of those. And you know, the beauty of our Sai fraternity is that we don't need any other language. We just need Sai Ram. Sai Ram conveys all emotions. Okay? From, hey, Sai Ram! Oh, Sai Ram! You know, a lot of exuberance. Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Right? One word is enough to convey all emotions. See how Swami has given us a language? By the way, this was not the language of heart, huh? That Swami was referring to. Anyway, so I got one of those Turner Sai Ram. And you know, I just gave him Sai Ram. And he said, so what I did not know is that children were not allowed to sit in first row. Okay, because just imagine Swami would come out for darshan and some random child will start running towards Swami. Right? Because, you know, and children are like that, right? You can't even catch them. They're like soap pieces. They just, you know, slip out. And so Swami would, for Swami, a devotee, you know, let me just take a slight detour here. Swami, in one of the discourses in Sai Shruti, you must have heard that, in Vrindavan, Trai Vrindavan, he says, boy ante behavior undali. Boy means he should have behavior. Man ante manners undali. So Swami is playing with that, right? Those boy ante behavior. That is, boy, if you want to call yourself a boy, means you should be well behaved. Man ante manners undali. If you want to consider man, you should have manners. Then Swami says, devotee ante devotion undali is what we will think. Swami says, na, discipline undali. For devotee, he is, you know, his hallmark is not the devotion that he has, but the discipline that he has. Okay? So for Swami, discipline is absolutely number one. Right? So the children were maximum allowed in the fourth row. Okay? So he was just doing his duty. The Sevadal sir comes and says, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. So I am saying Sai Ram means where? So, see, at that moment, no, you suddenly get to know who is your relations and who is not. So I wanted to tell, my father was also there, right? So I wanted to tell my father, please tell him, I am not one of those kids. I am not one of those mischievous kids. I have got, did you see stars on my shoulder? The imaginary stars that I carried from Bahrain Samiti. Okay, the certificate of discipline. That's why I said, no, very, very disciplined. I thought that was a certificate, I can use it in Prashanti. So, obviously not. And my father, no, he is now lost in his own contemplation on Swami. Suddenly, no, Kuta Mata, Kuta Pita, it's like that. Kuta Putra, who is this? I don't know this. My father also disowned me. Because he is still looking, you know, he is looking forward for his darshan. Why will he spoil his darshan for my darshan? Okay, I mean, these are all my annotations and my conditions, okay? I mean, footnotes. They're all footnotes. So, because I was not ready to get up, I was physically lifted. And there, in those days, you know, arches used to be there. At the back end of 1980s, arches used to be there. There used to be an arch right at the entrance of gents, which is meant for all the most mischievous kids. I was thrown in that arch. So I was physically lifted and thrown into that arch. And I couldn't take it. Okay, here was the boy from Bahrain, you know, with all my stars. Okay, and I'm being treated like a third-rate citizen. And so I start yelling. Just imagine a pin drop silence in Darshan grounds, pin drop silence, 6:30 in the morning, and I start yelling over there. I still remember I yelled, this is not real Swami. This is not real Swami. Because I'm saying if he was real Swami, he should know the devotion in my heart. Okay? And for some strange reason, the reason which I still don't know, I said, these are not real Sevadals. That also I was shouting. So this is not real Swami. These are not real Sevadals. This is not real Swami. Okay? And lo and behold, both me and my father were thrown out of the darshan ground. What, you thought Swami came and suddenly, no. both me and my father, miss, who is this? Whose kid is this? Sairam. My father, no, ayyo, my kid only. So just imagine, both me and my father were asked to leave the Darshan grounds, and we were now standing in the first row outside the Darshan ground. We wanted the first row inside the Darshan ground. And as usual, 6:45, Swami came, finished the Darshans, and he went back in, and tears streaming down. It's our last Darshan, right? Tears streaming down my cheeks, and my dad is like, "No, please don't cry here also. From here also they will throw us out." In those days, what used to happen, like most of you may know, we would typically, after Swami goes in for interviews, everybody would go to have breakfast, right? We'll go back to their rooms, they'll freshen up, and they'll come back in time for bhajans. So typically, Swami's darshan will go on for about 20 to 25 minutes, right? So 7:15 he will go in, and then probably come out by 8:45, 8:50 and go for bhajans. So everybody will come back in time for bhajans. That day, my father said, "See, anyway, this is one of our last darshans. Let's give up breakfast. Okay, and we'll just go inside and sit, because we have not even, at least till then, we were getting 19th number, 13th number and all. This was the darshan we were having from outside. So at least let's go and sit inside. Okay, and just feel that while all other devotees have gone." So we go inside after everybody's out, we are in. That day, at around 8:15 itself, the interviews are over. There is nobody in the darshan grounds, means very few people, a smattering of people here and there, about 50, 60, 100 maybe. And Swami comes out, he's finished the interview. He's coming out of his interview room door, and I see him standing there, and from there he looks straight in my direction, where we were sitting. And from there he starts walking straight. Ramrod straight. Swami is walking and comes, and now just imagine, at that point, there is no token, there is no lines, there is nobody, there is no Sevadal. It's just Swami and me. And exactly the darshan that I wanted to have. My superstar, right? My mega star, my hero is walking all the way up to me. Right? And he comes up to me, and there's nobody to push me back. There is nobody to tell me, "Hey, go and sit over there." Swami is right in front of my eyes. And he says, "Hey, kai ko chillata hai?" Okay? This was around 8:15 in the morning. I did not know that sound travels so slowly. I had shouted at 6:30 in the morning. Lekin upar wale ke ghar mein der hai, andher nahi. Right? That was famous saying. That's okay. Don't worry. Basically, in the Lord's house, there may be delays but never denials. Right? Swami walks up and he's saying, "Hey, kai ko chillata hai?" And for me, I don't have an answer, because I am just so mesmerized, because this is exactly what I wanted. I'm looking at his large face and his large hair. Okay, and then he pats on my back. He says, "A good boy." Okay, and then he says, "Take Pad Namaskar." And so I take Namaskar, and then Swami turns back and he walks back. That day, my hero walked into my life. Every single time I have any problems in my life, I simply relive this moment. In each one of our lives, Swami has walked in like this.